Hello and welcome back to the kitchen. Now if you're growing a lot of fruit and vegetables, one of the things you're going to have to learn to do is to preserve your produce. And what we're going to be looking at today is how to bottle fruit. Now bottling fruit used to be a very popular way of preserving fruit crops throughout the winter and into the following year before the invention of the freezer. Now unfortunately a lot of the skills in bottling and how to bottle fruit have been lost. But today we're going to be showing you how to bottle fruit, and I've got a few examples here. This is a gooseberries and rhubarb that I bottled about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and this stuff can actually last for quite some time. These are pears that I bottled up last year, and as I say, it's a great way of being able to preserve fruit. Now what we're going to have a go at today is to preserve these rather nice cherries that I've been picking over the weekend. We actually pick them wild, and these gooseberries. Now we're not going to preserve all of these because some of these are going to go into pies, but that bucket of gooseberries came from our neighbour's garden. Now I hasten to add that he did give us permission to go in and pick them. But the first thing you need to do when bottling fruit is to make your sugar syrup, and we're going to show you how to do that right now. Well, sugar syrup is quite straightforward to make. First of all, you need to add your water to the pan, and we're using about 600 millilitres of water there, so it's just over a pint, and we're using about 200 to 250 grams of sugar. So it's quite a heavy, sweet syrup, and then we just need to make sure it dissolves, and we then bring it up to the boil. Right, whilst we're waiting for the sugar syrup to be prepared, I'm just going to show you briefly the sort of jars that you're going to need for storage. Now this is a Kilner jar. The top is strapped down as like so, and you will see on the inside of the lid you've got a rubber ring there that helps seal the jar. Now if you don't have Kilner jars, you can use screw top storage jars like that, although when it comes to the final preparation there's slightly different way that we treat them. Now what we need to do as well is prepare the fruit. Now here we've got the gooseberries. We've topped and tailed the gooseberries, and then you pack them down tightly into a jar. Likewise with the cherries. Now we haven't stoned the cherries, that's a complete waste of time, it'll take forever to do that, but we have removed the stalks, so as you can see they're already there, and we've filled the jar right up to the top and really squeezed the fruit in, and then all we've got to do at this point is to add the sugar syrup. Now when you're making the syrup, once it comes up to the boil, you just need to give it about 2 minutes to boil, and then turn the heat off and allow it to cool for a bit, so that when you're pouring it in it's still hot, but it's not at boiling point at this point, and then you fill it right up to the top. Well, once the syrup is in the jars, close down the lids, but make sure that the jars are completely filled to the top. If you're using screw top jars, which we're not doing so today, but if you are using them, then close the lids, but don't close it fully. Give it a slight bit of a gap, and the reason why for that we'll show you in a moment. Well, the next bit of the process involves a return to the cooker, and what you need to do is get your pan. A large jam pan would be preferable because they need to be quite deep, and in the bottom of it put a tea towel like that, or a wooden pan stand. Now the reason we do that is because we're going to put the jars into the pans, and we're going to boil them, or we're going to heat them up, and they will shatter if they're in contact with the bottom of the pan. So the pan stand or the tea towel just separates the two and stops them from shattering. But you'll also need to fill the pans with warm water, probably about 35 to 40 degrees centigrade, and then you've got to make sure that there's enough water in to cover your jars completely. So once it's come up to the boil, leave it simmering for about 2 minutes. So it's actually quite a short simmering period. Well, there we have the finished product. That's the cherries, and we have one of the jars of gooseberries as well. And don't be surprised at how much gooseberries shrink down when they're heated up. So we'll be using these later this year, probably in things like pies, for toppings on ice cream and fruit salads and so on. Now what we've also been getting from the allotment recently are some strawberries, absolutely lots of them, gorgeous fat juicy strawberries, and we'll be using them to make gooseberry and strawberry jam. So we'll be using some of the other gooseberries that we picked at the same time as we picked these. So watch that video, watch out for that video, that'll be coming up soon, so see you then.